So some other things that are really important here. If we click on audiences, we can see some different information if it's filled out, which it is not. And this kind of reflects back to setting up goals, which we'll talk about in a minute. But you can start to build out separate audiences for cold traffic or people who pick up the phone, things like that. And this is all related to the demographics area under the audience part of analytics. So if you click on overview under demographics, the first time you click on this, it's probably not going to be turned on. So you're not going to get a screen like this. It's going to say, do you want to turn this on? Yes. And then it will start filling in data. So if you guys are looking at this on your systems live, this may not be starting to fill out. But we've had ours on for a couple of years. So we've got some really good information here, right? Most of users for us, 30% of users are between the ages of 25 and 34. We can also see male versus female. Always surprised by this because as I tend to think window treatment companies are predominantly female, and that's not always the case. But anyway, some kind of generic information here around users. And then of course you can drill down a little bit further into these and get age, how long somebody, so the 25 to 34, which is what most people visit our site, you'll also notice that their session duration on average is 4.5 minutes, right? So this demographic for us is definitely spending time on the website, as are the 35 to 44. So we could really say 25 to 44, spending a lot of time on our website. 65 plus, 15 seconds, right? They're not spending hardly any time on the site. Now, it would be interesting for you guys to look at this and see how yours is different as a window treatment company or an awning company. If that tends to skew older, obviously for us, people are looking for marketing a little bit earlier on, but as you're selling these items, it may skew towards the more affluent, therefore typically a little bit older crowd. I guess an easy way to say that, right? And then you can always go down to gender and see, does this match what you think for your business? Is it mostly males calling, females calling? Is it pretty 50-50? How much time do they spend on the site? Again, look at this. Males spend just under 2 minutes. Females spend over 3 minutes on our website. So interesting there as well. You can also go to interests and see what other things people are interested in that are engaging with your company. And these are categories that Google has put together. But this becomes kind of interesting if you want to start doing some Facebook ads, for instance, or Google ads. But what kind of person is typically engaging with my business? Well, these are typically beauty and wellness, food and dining, whatever things are here, right, listed for your business. They're obviously going to be different for you, but this starts to let you know what kind of people, just as a generic overview, an avatar, if you will, of a person. What are they interested in? What are they doing? That kind of stuff. Next down here is geo or geographic. And you can get into language, which is probably going to be English for the most part, and then location. So this is the same one that we saw at the dashboard level, but some really cool things here. We can actually click into the US, and now it starts to give us data about where in the US are people coming from, and the darker, the more people. So for some reason, we get a lot of visitors from Virginia. Texas is at 71, California at 56. So I can click on one of these, 56 in Texas, and I can start to see where in Texas people are coming from. So if you're selling obviously very locally, this would make a lot of sense to you, right? If we're in this area, where's Houston? Is this Houston over here? I'm not 100% sure. Okay, Houston, yeah. So Houston, as it comes to Texas, I can scroll down here now and see where in Texas are people coming from. A lot of visitors from Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and then it kind of tapers off after that. So if you are selling in the Houston area like Henry, it would make sense that the Houston number was the biggest number across the board. And then again, you can start to look at some of these things we talked about earlier. Session duration. For me, it's 3 seconds, but for you, hopefully it's 3 minutes, 2 minutes, something like that. Here's our pages per session. How long are people in Houston spending on the site, right? So now we're getting some really deep data related to our business. Now I can actually click on Houston and get a little bit more information sometimes about where they are, how many of them were new, how many of them came back, that kind of stuff. What is the bounce rate of people in Houston that are visiting my website? Again, at this point, you would expect this number to be lower for you, but it's a really cool way to get some great data about your very local area and where people are engaging with your business locally. Now, if you're selling a ton of stuff locally, like most of you are, you're probably going to have a lot of these little smaller dots like this, which are little towns inside of the Houston area that makes sense. So you'll have a bunch of those around your big municipality, your metropolitan area. All right, I'm going to skip behavior and go to technology. This is obviously just around what are they using to visit your website. Most people for us are visiting from Chrome and then Android, which is kind of interesting. I would say for window treatment and awning companies, this is more likely going to be Chrome and Safari or some sort of an iPhone related web view, right? For that. So anyway, there's some browser information there. Under mobile, you can go to overview. This is the same data that we saw earlier. Desktop, mobile, and tablet. And you can see tablet is 1.68% of all of our visits. And these numbers are generated because of this time frame here. So we're looking at 45 days worth of time in this case. So they're going to change a little bit, but it does give you the percentages of those. Now, one thing we can do in the top right here, when we're looking at September 1 through October 13, one thing we can do is click this compare to button. And then we get a couple options. We can compare that to the previous period. We can customize compared to a specific time, or we can compare it to the previous year. So same time frame, but a year ago. Click apply, then it shows you basically the change from a year ago. And so now we've got blue, which is last 45 days, and then orange, which is a year ago during the same time frame. Now we get some really cool information, right? In that time frame, desktop users have increased by 16% for us. Mobile users have increased 118%, and tablet isn't also ran, right? You pretty much nobody is doing anything there. Not many people are using tablets, which is surprising. But now you can start to compare data of two different time frames to see what's working, how were we doing a year ago versus what we're doing now, and obviously, make some decisions because of that.